said, this is KWAKU ANNAN here. Sometimes sounds quite controversial. Sometimes people disagree. People agree to you, depend on which political philosophy, economic philosophy, or social philosophy on which you are trending. I designed the show this way, that this is a show primarily was going to focus on social current affairs issues, political issues, economic issues, investigations, because then my background must also be feed into the program, contextualizing it from investigative journalism. That was the base. And then also what I call, I think the fourth one was Crossfire. This is a show all the time. Everything about the show is on my lap. The content, the programming, and the takeoff, everything is on my lap. You know, because I was given that task to push the show to whichever level. One, to ensure that we have the listenership, the viewership, and the markets as far as the business aspect is concerned. And I succeeded in all the three, you know, above things. I think sometime in July, it was on Wednesday, preparing to go to the studio. I was in my bedroom. Then I showered, about to take off. Then I had a call from my CEO, who apparently is the wife of Kennedy Japan, Stella. And she called and said, we have to have a meeting about the program. And apparently she want the program to go on a season break. So I said, what is it about this season break? And then she said, yes, we need to go for a season break. And that's in broadcasting. This is, I mean, it's something that we have to exercise. And I said, oh, madam, gauging the circumstances of the situation, we are left with about 4 to 5 months to go for Christmas. So why don't we wait for this period? She said, no, we have to. So I asked her, then what time, which day you want the program to push for this season break? Then she said, anytime you are free and you can come to the office, then we discuss this. KWAKU, this was on Wednesday underlined. So about preparing to take off, then one of the producers called and said, KWAKU, we are not having a show today. And that Madam has asked us that we slot in a movie. And I said, a movie for what? And I said, but I just spoke to her. And then she said, okay, then call Madam again. Okay. So indeed, I called her.
She had discussed with you that she wants the program to go on a break, take a season.
Exactly.
But you knew that you'd be continuing with the program.
Sure, sure.
The program when the producer called and said, we are not filming today.
Exactly. So I called her back, and then she said, I'm in a meeting, I'll call you back. And that ended the call. So I realized that then the calls were coming from other guys, technical guys, those in MCR and all of that. That KWAKU, something is happening, we don't understand, blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, well, let's wait for. So I called my director of TV, who is, that's Ken's son, Nanatichi. And I said, Kenneth, what is going on? Then he said, me, I don't know, instructions coming from above. So discuss with her. I've opened the studio. If you want to have a program or the show will go on, everything depends on Madam. And I said, oh, really? So on that Wednesday, KSM, we canceled the show. Then the next day, I went to the office. So when I went to the office, then she said, I should say that myself, CEO, and then director of TV, we had this meeting. In the meeting, she said, look, one, we have to pull this program down and do some realignments and rearrangements and all of that. And that's okay. Well, I don't know what would feed into all of the above that she's saying, but then I have to listen to it. Then second, she said, you can't fight the government. You can't fight the government. I can't fight the government. Then again, she went on to say that I've insulted the vice president and that there's a YouTube video recording shows that I've gone to do a program on my private YouTube channel and I've insulted the vice president. Yes. And I said, no, madam, I haven't done that. Well, saying this, I thought then in a minute she was going to show me the video as evidence-based. I did not see the video. She did not also say anything except to, you know, telling me stories about the video, blah, blah. And I said, no, I haven't gone on YouTube to do anything. Well, she was so fixated on the basis of the fact that, yes, the program should be pulled down. So I accepted that challenge. In all of this, I was studying what is more to loom. that will make more understanding than just to say the program must go on.
Yeah, let me ask you this very quickly. Did you do a program on YouTube about the vice president?
Absolutely not.
So what program are you referring to?
Great. Now, you know what? Which I know by this time, KSM, you might have heard of all of the sizes to the coin. It's about the fact that that purported video upon which I stand accused to have insulted the vice president. Apparently, I did that show on that same network, unknown to them or on the ignorant side of them all, including even my director of TV, who is supposed to have monitored all my programs and could see that this is a program that KWAKU did. And apparently it's talking about the vice president in a negative terms or some sort. No, it was almost, it caught all of them at the blind side until I have to come and give my response that, hey, the video on which I stand accused, and Kennedy Japan is also out there telling the world that I did it on YouTube, was actually on his own network. And again,
that program was on Net2 TV.
Exactly. Because in my response to what Kennedy Japan has said out there, if you watch my response on my my TV station, KWAKU Annan's TV, you will see I fixed, in fact, I showed the video, the real video, because nobody apparently either have access to the video or something, because all the information going around on the superhighway, nobody could show the video, including Net2 officials. So I have to demonstrate that video to the world that this is the video we are talking about. And KWAKU, quickly, now go into the content of that video, which is purported to have been described as an insult to Bawumia. It's not. It's a program. My program, The Seeds, I also designed a segment on the program called Ghana Speaks. And Ghana Speaks is the hottest. This is a segment where I do to invite the viewers more, prepare them for the main program itself, take off. So on Ghana Speaks, now to give you the content of that show, which Mr. Kennedy Japan could not listen well and understand what that content was all about. It's about what you and I know, that the MPP has gone for IMF. Now, my reference was about the fact that, yes, the the NDC administration, John Mahama, former president, His Excellency, took us to IMF. Now, at the time the NDC, went for the IMF program, the current vice president was in opposition. Then I remember he said something to John Mahama, 3, 4, 5 bullet points, telling the world how Mahama has failed. So, KWAKU, the superhighway is a storage of information. Yeah. So I went for that video. Then I played that video. I also played a video of the current finance minister, who also then had said about a month or two to us that Ghana, we are not going on IMF and all the doom-mongers and blah, blah, blah. So I took these two videos and I played both respectively. Then I questioned the current vice president, Mr. Vice President. Can you explain to us these things that you said to former President Mahama? 2, would these things that you said to former President Mahama be applicable to you today? When I made this comment, then my viewers on YouTube got alarmed. And I can presumably, may I say, these are fans of the vice president, started attacking me on YouTube. That why am I taking on the vice president, blah, 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 blah. So there, whatever response I gave in that video was not actually for the vice president, for my viewers on YouTube. So it was there I said, quote, when I was attacking Mahama about his economic mess and all of that, you people didn't hear, you didn't see. What kind of rubbish is that? We have to tell the truth to Ghanaians and defend everything that we have said in the past and present. And I left it there. So whether I use the word rubbish or whatever it is, KWAKU, the truth of the matter, and anybody who has watched that video or viewed the video, no, clear, primarily, was not in reference to the vice president. And it can never be an insult to the vice president. It was those at the YouTube that I was talking to.
Okay. What you're saying is that you just played back what he has said.
Exactly.
And played back what the finance minister has said. And we were questioning them why there was that transition. Was okay.
Precisely. That's it.
But this was done on Net2.
It was done on Net2, not on YouTube. It was on Net2 TV. in July.
Okay. What's this whole issue about you went to YouTube to do it? Was it because you played it back on YouTube? What happened?
No. You know what happened? Anytime I do my program, some of these bloggers sometimes will pick the show. Then they put it in their own, content, and then they shoot it. A lot of bloggers pick my program, where many times the officials of NETU have written to the YouTube officials and then they strike them off. But this one, I don't know what happened. Okay. It was still, on the superhighway. Okay. And then somehow the circumstances under which it went to Kennedy Japan is a story that maybe we'll get into it.
Okay. Let me ask you this quickly. Your CEO said that you can't fight government based on the YouTube thing and everything. And if I may add, I think it's no secret that NETU is afraid of the government. NETU is seen as a platform where the government is very comfortable, propagating government, whatever it is, right? So when she told you can't fight government, being NETU, knowing the philosophy of NETU, and you coming as a host on the program from NETU, how did you feel? Did you feel you have now turned against government?
Well, Kwaku, this is the crossroad, in the sense that when she said this, then it was for me to digest, then again to interrogate myself that what it is about. You can't fight a government or some sort. I don't know, because she could not reveal much more that on the basis of it, I can say, oh, my direction is not about fighting government. But it was about later on, some other intelligence I picked prior to that meeting that she didn't know, that I have picked some very reliable intelligence. And so based on that, then I knew where she was going. But then she was also not ready to open up. But I knew where she was going, that there is much more than what she was telling me, why she was saying I can't fight government. And I could presume that it was not on the basis of whether I've insulted vice president or not. There were more to it. Yes, like you said, the NETU TV, the seat, flavors government policies, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But as you know, the media cannot, will not, and may not be ignored as a significant political actors. We have a certain sense of responsibility to deliver. My responsibility as a journalist sitting there, one, I don't have any political party tag. What do you call it? What's the word? Party card, no. But sometimes the viewer, or say those in the extreme NPP kind of, would feel that no, so long as Kwaku is sitting on this network, it's expected of him that he push that agenda. Fair deal. But then wouldn't also be more reasonable professionally as a journalist coming from that conduit, that I need to also execute my job on the professional standpoint, with or without looking at it from both sides. And that if the party does something that is also not politically incorrect, Kwaku should be able to question. I should be able to interrogate it. I should be able to talk about it. Okay. Because one, if John Mahama, former President Mahama, pushed us to IMF, for how many years down the line? We've been going to IMF. When are we going to have that break? And then you come on the basis of me to question even the current vice president. We're on three bases. One, the vice president, Kwaku, is the chairman of the economic management team of this government, the governing party. Two, he's an economist too. Three, he's the vice president. And I can even say, Charlie, Mahama Krano, Mahama is a political technocrat. This is our vice president. He's a groomed economist. So if you are the chairman of the economic management team, you know the in and out, the endocrine, the leaps and bounds of everything as far as the economy is concerned. You know how to play the game. Now, if you sit there And they do all the things that they've done up to the very moment, including that of the current finance minister. In that white calico with the Bible and giving scriptures backing that God is with us and we aren't going to IMF. And then by the close of his speech, we are at the doorstep of the IMF. Now we see ourselves sitting, eating a giant humble pie. No, I cannot use any other adjective except to say they have failed. And that, for me, was a crystal clear that any Ghanaian, be that a journalist or otherwise, you would have to tell them, guys, you have failed.